Okay, here is our next challenge. Check if a sequence or sentence contains spaces. Okay, write a function that takes in a string and returns true if the string has spaces. And as a hint, it also says a space could be a blank space or a tab character. How do we do this? So this one is not all that difficult. Say we have a string, right? Like I love Python. You could do it in a couple of ways, but essentially we are having to loop through all the elements in this string and then figuring out if each of these values is a blank or a tab, right? So if string 1 equals this, then we loop through all these elements for char in list of string 1. Now, if char equals a space or char equal to a tab, either way it's a space, then return true. Else you wait until you go all the way to the end and then return false, right? We just have to make sure that there are no characters until all the string is done, right? So we go to 1, 2, 3, 4, all the characters, 10, 15 characters, and after the loop finishes, if still there are no blank characters, then only we return a false. But if there is a single blank character or a single tab character, we just return true, right? Not more than 3-4 lines. So this is one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is we have the same string, right? We have the same string. We do something like this. We use a functionality in Python called in. And we say if blank, this is a blank character, meaning single space, in string underscore 1 or tab in string underscore 1, then return true. What we are trying to do here is use the in functionality. So in functionality, what it does is, it does this. So if we say x in y, what does it mean to Python? If you say x in y, it says y is an iterable, meaning it's a list or some kind of an iterable, right? A sequence of elements. And you're asking to check if this element is there somewhere in this list. For example, if y is, let's say, a sequence of numbers 1, 5, 3, 2, 1, right? If you say 1 in this list, it returns true. If you say 7 in this list, it returns false. So it's basically a shortcut to what we are trying to do here, right? So you could use any other functionality. And in fact, we can take it one more step and say, instead of doing this conversion, we can avoid this conversion altogether. We don't need to convert the string to a list. Now, you might be asking why. You said it's an iterable that it goes over, this in functionality, right? Is string an iterable? Yes, it is an immutable iterable. You can consider it like a list, but it's not mutable. Of course, you can't store anything other than a character in a string, although it can be characterized as an iterable. But for the purposes of this logic, it can be considered an iterable. So you don't even need to convert it to a list. You can just straight away say in string 1, tab in string 1, right? Let's do it in Python and we'll see this example. So here is our function is space and it takes in a string. Now we have to figure out if this string contains a space or a tab. A simpler way to do it is say convert the string to an iterable list. And then for each element in this list, if the char is equal to a space or a tab, return true. Because even if one of these characters is a space or a tab, we have to return true, right? But what happens if we reach the end of this string or the end of this list and still haven't found out a blank or a tab? That means that there is no blank or no tab character. So we have to return false. So after the for loop is done, if we are still not able to return anything, we just say return false, meaning there is no space in that string. Okay, let's test this. Now this should return a false, right? Oh, this should return a true because it has a blank, right? Now let's remove these blanks. Now this should return false, right? This works. Let's modify this program a little bit. Let's use what we have found out here using the in functionality. In works on an iterable. In says whether the element that you're passing to the left of it, right here, is actually found in that iterable or not, right? So let's work that out. Like I said, it works on any iterable, and string is also kind of an iterable, just that you can't change it. So if that's it. If there is a blank or a tab in the string iterable, return true. Otherwise, return false, right? So this is basically a much more compact way of doing the same thing that we have done previously. So let's try to run this and test this on the same test case. So this is false, so there is no space in here, that is true. Now we have put a space and we found the answer to be true. So this is how we can figure out if there is a space in a string or not. Now, it doesn't matter whether there are standard functions available for this or not. We are trying to just learn Python, right? So if there is a built-in function, that's better. But if you are able to figure out a way to do these things on your own, it will give you the programming skill necessary to write more complicated logic in your job.